Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Bill Kornblut, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Whatever they choose to do may be a little bit unexpected in terms of what we've been able to prepare for. So our players are going to have to adapt and adjust to that. But we have seen it enough that they at least have an expectation of what could happen in both those scenarios.
Calm, cool, collected Nick Saban. Don't know how calm, cool, collected he is right now, just a few hours from kickoff in the second national semifinal game of the day in the Sugar Bowl, Alabama, Ohio State. Right now, the first national semifinal ever played is underway at the Rose Bowl. It's a good one so far because it's still tight, and there's been a lot of exciting plays back and forth. Oregon leading Florida State 8-3. Oregon with a touchdown and a 2-point conversion, and of course FSU with a field goal, and a lot of other hectic action. College bowl games today. A great game between Auburn and Wisconsin, and a terrific game between Michigan State and Baylor. Talk all about it here tonight on Sports Talk. We are live on New Year's night from downtown Main Street, Columbia, which survived the New Year's Eve party last night that attracted, they said, about 20,000 people.
I thought they were here to watch you and Pro do the show last night.
Well, they were. Several were peeking through the window.
Yeah.
Several had taken ladders and climbed up to the second floor here in downtown Columbia where we're located and watched us and watched the television screens as we had ball games on the screens. So it's been a very interesting day here on New Year's Day. Phil Kornblut, Kevin McCrary, the state man Graham Pope, the professor Tom Hayes. He has New Year's night off. We continue with our live broadcast here on Sports Talk from downtown Columbia. First of all, Happy New Year. Hope you had a great welcoming in of 2015 and came back from a college football standpoint. 2015 off to a great start.
Yeah, I really do like the new format. Of course, I like the playoff, which is starting today, but I like two big bowl games last night, the Fiesta Bowl and the Orange Bowl, the Chick-fil-A Bowl. We're in the good bowls now, and then today waking up and you get noon, the Outback Bowl, and the Cotton Bowl was a great game. What a great finish there. So the bowl games on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day mean something again. They have the good ones played when they're supposed to be played, which is nice.
I just wish you people would quit saying that. Just wish you'd quit saying. They've always meant something. They've meant something for decades. Now they have gradually over time, because of the BCS, meant less. All right. Because the bowl games had no impact on you people that favor the playoffs. So don't say the bowl games have never meant anything. The Rose Bowl for decades. This is what irritates me about ESPN. They talk about today's Rose Bowl being something special.
Well, it is something special.
Something brand new. No, it's not.
It is.
The Rose Bowl has decided many a national championship
but
over the years.
It's the first year it's a playoff. But what I meant is New Year's Day is special again because they had watered it down by moving New Year's Day bowl games to January 2nd, January 3rd, January 4th. Even the Rose Bowl wasn't on New Year's Day. Well, actually, the Rose Bowl did stick with their New Year's Day, but some of the other ones didn't.
All right, back with you New Year's night here on Sports Talk, a live Sports Talk. Once again, we are live and in color, moving forward into 2015 with you around the state. Look forward to hearing from you tonight and in the future. If you'd like to join us to talk about today's action in college football, 800-956-7266 is our phone number. Email talkback@sportstalksc.com. The Twitter address is @sportstalksc. Our website, sportstalksc.com. And on Facebook, like us there, Sports Talk Radio Network. Want to talk about the games that have taken place last night, so far today, and, of course, what's going on in the first national semifinal game this afternoon, going into tonight's game as well. Got all that on the table. Plus, want to start looking ahead to 2015 for Tigers and Gamecocks. What's your early take on 2015 for the two teams? How do you see the records shaking down in 2015, considering what's returning for both teams and what both teams will lose, and, of course, the relative schedules of the two teams? Both have some really tough games. Clemson's schedule next year, I think, really toughens up. They've got to go to Miami. They've got to go to Louisville. They've got to go to South Carolina. They've got to go to Syracuse. Those are just some of the games off the top of my head the Tigers will be hitting the road for. So that's going to be tough. South Carolina picks up LSU next year. You know, LSU, shouldn't say next year, I should say next season because it's this year. LSU, after the kind of year they had, K-Mac, they're not a team to go back-to-back down seasons. They recover in a hurry. They'll have a more balanced, a more experienced quarterback. They will have a new defensive coordinator.
Yeah, probably.
So that'll be a change for them to some degree.
They pound the ball. A very physical team. Probably year in and year out, I think, the most physical team in the SEC. And they'll have a great running attack with Forsett, who is unbelievable as a freshman. So the Gamecocks better figure out their whole run defense issues pretty darn quick, or it's going to be a long season when they face guys like Nick Chubb and Forsett and, you know, all down the line. There's going to be a lot of good running backs that they have to go against next season.
Could Ellis Johnson land at LSU?
That's
good. You see that as a fit?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, is he
veteran coach, been around
the league? But I mean, is that really, you know, LSU, if you're an LSU fan right now with Ellis Johnson, he's kind of washed out, fair or not. And I think there's different circumstances. I think Ellis Johnson's a heck of a football coach, but he flamed out quickly at his last two stops. And I don't know if he's going to be able to land a gig like that right now. But, you know, I think if he doesn't end up doing something in state, that he might end up sitting at his house somewhere, just relaxing with his feet up.
Well, he's got plenty of money in the bank because of what happened at Southern Miss and also what happened in Auburn. But Ellis Johnson is a proud individual, and he's a football guy. He is a football man through and through. He's not a front office guy. He's not a guy that wants to hang around a program and just be some kind of advisor. I think he's a guy that wants to be on the field, hands-on, coaching linebackers, running a defense. Got to believe he's going to land somewhere in 2015 with a chance to kind of resurrect his reputation.
As a coordinator, you think?
As a coordinator, yeah.
Really?
I would think so. Why wouldn't you? I mean, the guy, you know, I don't know what happened at Auburn. You know, obviously he took the blame. He took the fall.
He's only there 2 years.
I know.
You know,
and he ends up taking the fall. I mean, they didn't exactly shut down Melvin Gordon today, 251 yards rushing. So whatever scheme Muschamp came up with those same players.
Well, Muschamp wasn't doing it today, though. He wasn't coaching.
Well, he's been with them, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think he's just been kind of observing. I don't think he was.
Was he not up in the booth
dialing up any plays?
You sure?
No, he wasn't. I don't think he was heavily involved with the play calling. Defensively, it was Cheese. Coach Harbison was calling the plays.
Okay. Oregon up 11-3 now. Another field goal by the Ducks, 11-3 over Florida State. Thus far, Jameis Winston, 7 of 11, 60 yards. Marcus Mariota, 11 of 18, 95 yards passing for him. And total yards thus far, Oregon 181, Florida State 136. So they are just they've already combined for 22 first downs between them. They're just going to move up and down the field. Florida State's averaging 5.4 per play, and Oregon's averaging 5.2. Do you think we'll see the same kind of game in game 2, up and down the field in a different way? I mean, Alabama's not a not a spread, fast-paced type offense. And Ohio State, with their quarterback situation, they're third quarterback because of injuries. A guy who only played in one game. He's thrown like 30 passes this year. But they also have another player that they'll insert in the Wildcat to take a lot of snaps and try and move their offense that way. But don't you know Alabama's going to be prepared and ready for that?
Nick Saban and Kirby Smart, when they've had time to prepare for teams these extended periods, by and large, they've been pretty good. I know Oklahoma smoked them pretty good last year in the Sugar Bowl, but this is a different ball of wax because Alabama has a little something to play for, unlike last year where they were disappointed not to be in the championship game. So, yeah, I think that game will have a little more defense in it with those two teams, those two powerhouses. Ohio State has never beat Alabama.
Can you not see the game where you're sitting?
I can through the glass.
Just kind of
does it bother you that I turn around?
That I turn turning your shoulder and watching.
I just actually don't want to listen to you.
You can sit in Pro's chair if you want to.
I don't. Pro's very particular about his chair. I don't want to go over there and sit in it.
He sit over there, sit with me. Eyeball. I've got the game on 3 different sets in front of me. All right,
that's nice.
I've got 3 different views of the same video shot. By the way, ESPN PR propaganda, second best in the history of the world to Pravda in putting out propaganda about their people. But they reported today that the TV ratings for last night's game were off the charts,
as I predicted.
Yeah, I mean, people are going to watch college football. All right, I never denied. Never denied that they were going to watch college football. Do you know what metered market led the nation? According to this, what metered market led the nation
last night
for all the games? I'll make it easy for you.
Yeah, because it's probably something I'm not expecting.
Birmingham, Alabama is what this release says.
What else are you going to do in Birmingham on New Year's Eve? Watch football.
Here's some of the numbers. The first 3 telecasts of the New Year's 6 format delivered the most viewed and highest rated New Year's Eve triple header on an ESPN network on record since 1990. Now, this does not take in what the numbers might have been, say, on NBC for the Rose Bowl years past. I don't know. I'd have to go check and see how these numbers
and more households have access to network TV,
correct.
Obviously.
Well, not as many as you've got as many with cable access now as you do over-the-air network for the most part.
Well,
everybody has cable.
But not everybody has cable.
I mean, I think
everybody that has a TV has ABC. Everybody that has a TV doesn't have ESPN.
Everybody I know except for the steak man has cable. When you getting cable, steak man?
I've been working on it for a while. I've been looking at DirecTV for satellite.
Yeah,
DirecTV.
But right now, you're still doing the rabbit ears and getting channel 25, channel 35.
Well, you can stream everything off the internet now. If it wasn't for sports, I would.
That would be stealing. That would be pirating.
No, Netflix isn't stealing.
You know nothing, do you, Corn?
Do you pay
Amazon Prime?
Do you pay for it?
Netflix?
Yeah.
I use Netflix.
I actually do get free sports games on the. I showed
so
you that.
Still?
I showed you that website. Yeah. Yes, of course I do.
Yeah, and then I used it once, and I had all this malware on my computer, and I never used it again.
They get you. Anyway, Chick-fil-A Bowl, Fiesta Bowl, and the Orange Bowl combined to average 7.1 million viewers, 4.3 household U.S. rating, marking increases of 53% in the viewership and 54% in the ratings over last year's Triple.
And I think that's just because they put the games on. New Year's Eve is a great time to watch football games. You're either at a party somewhere, or you're at your house, or you're out. And those games are on TV. When they were putting the Orange Bowl, when I covered it a few years ago, or both times, it was after New Year's Day. It's like January 3rd or January 4th, in the middle of the week on a Wednesday night when people are back at work, kids are back at school. This was it's a great time to do it during the holiday.
I think you think
I'm
this
very
is
happy.
But look at the empty seats. Did you see the number of empty seats in the Orange Bowl?
Well, that's been a trend.
They had the smallest crowd today at the Citrus Bowl. Since like 19.
Well, look who played in the Orange Bowl. Georgia Tech.
I mean, it's these bowl. It's all great for television. It's all great. I get that. ESPN couldn't be happier, and I guess the conferences are happy because they're getting the money. But you're going to kill the bowls when nobody shows up for them.
That's been happening, though. I mean, that's been happening.
Yeah, Florida State continues to have its issues in the red zone trying to score. They're down again close to the goal line, but can't knock it in just yet.
They got jobbed right there.
Well, Nick O'Leary is dealing with a hamstring issue. You know, he came out and hurt himself in the pregame warm-up. He'd had a hamstring problem, and he tweaked the hamstring in warm-ups, had to go back inside for treatment, came back out, ran around, tried to loosen it up. He is playing. And Winston just tried to hit him in the end zone. He was mugged, but he didn't catch the ball. So it's another field goal, and Florida State pulls to within 11-6. But, man, Oregon's defense, you know, that's the thing about Oregon. You remember a couple of years ago when they played Auburn in the national championship game that they had the offense, but they had no defense to stop Auburn. It certainly looks like they've cranked up their defense. They look a lot better. But then again, you know, Florida State's offense hasn't absolutely overwhelmed people this year. Think about their games this year. They fell well behind against Boston College. Clemson held them in check. Of course, Clemson had a great defense. They had many games this year where they struggled early, trailed early. This is, if you're Oregon, you cannot grow complacent. You cannot have a false sense of security because you have to know Florida State's history this year has been second half.
And they've left some points out there too. They opted to go on 4th and 5 on the 22 and didn't get it. So there's 3 points they could have conceivably had, and it could have been 14-6 right now. I think you get all the points you can when you're playing Florida State. In the second half, Florida State has been a different team this year, and you know they're not going to panic if they're down a couple of scores going into the intermission the way they've been playing, although Oregon's a completely different animal. And these two teams look like a couple of teams that haven't played football in a while.
The only team that Florida State totally dominated this year was Wake Forest, 43-3. I mean, they beat Oklahoma State by 6. I'm not counting the Citadel. They beat Clemson in overtime by 6. They beat NC State by 15, but gave up 41 points. They beat Syracuse by 18, gave up 20. They beat Notre Dame by 4, pulled that out, had the very controversial finish where Notre Dame had a touchdown wiped out that would have given them the win on the pick play. Remember that? Beat Louisville by 11, beat Virginia by 14, beat Miami by 4, beat Boston College by 3, beat Florida by 5, a bad Florida team, only beat them by 5, and only beat Georgia Tech by 2 in the ACC championship game. They have not – Oregon has the much more impressive overall resume in terms of the victory margin on their behalf. But Florida State has found a way to pull these tight games out. And like people are saying, they're the champions. Until you beat them, until you knock, they're going to remain the champions and the favorites in the minds of many. But I think they've been living a very dangerous life this season, and that's why I picked Oregon. Plus, I think Oregon's good enough to beat Florida State. I think they match up extremely well with them, and they have the great quarterback too. And I just think Florida State has just been escaping this year. I don't think there's any escape this time from Oregon out west in the Rose Bowl. We'll be back, 800-952-66. We'll take some phone calls coming up here on Sports Talk. All right, Oregon is on the move inside the 10-yard line, leading 11-6. And we're inside 3 minutes, first half, Rose Bowl, first national championship playoff semifinal. And Oregon is showing Florida State no fear at this point in time, doing what they do on offense and playing extremely well on defense. Coming up in just a couple of moments, our good buddy Bill Pollock from the Missouri Network is going to join us to talk about Mizzou's win today. Stay tuned for that. Right now, John in Ruby jumps on with us, and you know what, big guy? You have the honor of being the first caller, numero uno, of 2015. You can wear that with distinction.
Well, that's what I told State, man. Somebody's got to be first, but not only that, but like I like to say, if you ain't the lead dog, the scenery don't ever change. Now, a couple of us are sitting around here watching this ball game and everything, and we know there's a official in the SEC that carries about the same reputation that Ron Cherry carries in the ACC.
Mm-hmm.
Is this that guy?
Mike Washington?
I don't know. It is an SEC crew. I know that. I don't have the individual names in front of me, but I do know it's an SEC crew.
SEC crews struggle. I mean, we were talking about that off air. They just really seem to struggle a lot. Steve Shaw probably has a lot of headaches, I would imagine, every Sunday after a conference weekend with some of his crews. The goofy calls always seem to be made by SEC officials.
Thomas Tyner, by the way, let me jump in here. Thomas Tyner just scored on a 1-yard run. Oregon is up 18-6. And Marcus Mariota, 17 of 24, 147 yards. To this point, Winston is 8 of 15 for 76 yards. Go ahead, John.
Okay, well, they're really missing some calls because on that last scramble that Mariota made, I guess y'all watching the game and everything, I mean, there was a lineman holding, I guess, a linebacker, and he turned him completely around as Mariota run by him. I mean,
well, the SEC.
I'll be the first to tell you, I'm not a Florida State fan. Now, you know that.
Right.
SEC wants to see Oregon play Alabama, so they're going to do everything they can to help the Ducks.
Well, I don't know about all that. I mean, you just need to get your head out your wazoo and do what you're getting paid for.
Absolutely. All right, so thank you. Happy New Year, and thank you for being the first caller of 2015 here on Sports Talk. And now we welcome in our first guest of 2015, but he's not really a guest. He's family. It's Bill Pollock from the Missouri Network, who has been in Orlando to cover the Missouri Tigers, and they're going home with a bowl win. Very nice, Mr. Pollock.
Yeah, they are going home with a bowl of oranges and mangoes and the Citrus Bowl trophy. Top of it is actual fruit.
Mm-hmm.
Did you grab a piece? Yeah. Did you grab a piece?
You know what? I did. If you go to my Twitter feed at Missouri Sports, I have a selfie of me plucking one of the oranges off the trophy. How I didn't get kicked out, I don't know, but you do anything for a quick gag. So
maybe you can take that orange and take it back to Missouri Stadium and replace the rock that K-Mac took when he visited there.
Gary Pinkel's looking for you right now, and me, I think.
Well, let's talk about Mizzou's performance today. 337 rushing yards, 2 guys over 100 yards. Matty Mock didn't have a great day by any means, but the Tigers picked it up with their running game.
Yeah, they sure did. And, as far as Matty Mock, I thought Gary Pinkel said it great, and I've been one of his defenders this whole year because it's not Matty Mock. It hasn't been his issues. He was just 12 of 19, 2 interceptions. He did have 2 touchdowns. There's more to it. He was playing without his second best wide receiver, Jimmy Hunt, who had shoulder surgery. He was done for the year, could not play in this game. Minnesota's secondary played pretty well. They played some tight coverage. Guys weren't getting open, and that's been an issue all year. So it wasn't just that. There were some tight coverages that he threw into, and he's got to grow. He's only a sophomore. This was his first full season as a starter. But what Missouri did well, and what they've done well all year, is run the football. And while Minnesota shut them down early in the first quarter, in fact, the Tigers only had 21 yards of total offense through the first 15 minutes. They started wearing them down. They counted, I believe there were 10 runs of 10 yards or more. And one of those was a 78-yard run from Russell Hansbrough, which tied a Citrus Bowl record. Marcus Murphy had a 69-yard run. Matty Mock had an 18-yard touchdown score. So they really wore down this Minnesota defense as the game went on.
How much does Missouri lose from this year's team?
They lose quite a bit. They lose Bo Sasser, who is their big wide receiver. He had the two touchdown catches. They lose him. They lose some guys on the offensive line. They're going to be real. I mean, they were shallow at the wide receiver position this season. They're going to be even more shallow next year. I don't think they have any seniors returning. They have one. I'm sorry, they have one senior returning at wide receiver. Defensively, they'll be pretty deep. I think that that's their strongest position, but they'll lose some key pieces on the offensive side. And so we'll have to see how Missouri retools and what they can bring in a recruiting class if there's some freshmen who can step up for that wide receiver position. Matty Mock is going to need some help.
Yeah, coaching staff remain in place for the most part. You expecting any changes there? Anybody looking to move on higher positions, head coaching jobs, anything like that?
Yeah, funny you should mention that. Just a couple of weeks ago, it was announced that the defensive coordinator, Dave Steckel, is leaving the program, and he is going to become the head coach at Missouri State, which is in Springfield, Missouri, which is about 3 hours to the southwest of Missouri. He's 58 years old. He's been with Gary Pinkel a long time, very loyal, but he wanted an opportunity to be a head coach, and so he's got this opportunity to drop down the level in Division I, but he wants to run a program. And at his age, I don't know how many more chances he was going to get. He wanted to jump at it. A very emotional week. In fact, the team dedicated this game to him. So it means a lot to Coach Pinkel, but Pinkel brings in Barry Odom, who was the defensive coordinator at Memphis for the last 3 seasons, who has done nothing but improve that team. In fact, they were 10th in the nation in points allowed. He's a former Mizzou linebacker and assistant coach, so somebody who knows Pinkel's system, and I don't think you'll see much of a drop-off on the defensive side.
So he's already filled that spot. So Missouri finishes 11-3. Of course, they went 7-1 in the SEC, not counting the game in the SEC championship game. So they finished 11-3. And, I remember a couple of years ago when you guys joined the league, you and I talking from SEC media days, and you're asking me, what's the reaction around the league to Missouri being there? And I'm telling you, these writers feel like Missouri just started to play football this year. And we all know Missouri has a long football history. But you're making your name in the SEC now, back-to-back SEC East titles. Does Missouri take a back step in 2015, or can they maintain the position they've built?
Well, it'll be interesting. I think, the defense will be strong. Running game should be there again, but I think the passing game will be an issue. Here's the thing: when you're the SEC division champs, I don't think Missouri's going to. They're not going to sneak up on anybody and catch anybody by surprise. I think teams may have overlooked them again this time, but 2 years in a row of winning the SEC East, it's tough enough to play in the SEC every single week. Now their target is going to be on their back even more. It's going to be difficult, no doubt about it. But with Gary Pinkel, he'll have this team, and I would expect them to compete and be up there. But it's tough to do it 3 times in a row, no doubt about that. But certainly a good run for Pinkel, and what he's missing right now is that conference championship game, and that's the thing that I know he wants big time. That's what bothers him, and so he's going to want to get back to that SEC championship game and then finally win one, because he's 0-4 right now with the Tigers if you go back to the SEC and also Big 12 championship games.
All right, Bill, hang on 1 second. I want to hold you over through the break and got a couple of more questions for you. Meantime, out in Pasadena, Florida State flying down the field and scoring as we speak. So they get their first touchdown with about 30 seconds to go in the half.
Florida State.
Yeah, they go right back down the field. They gave up a touchdown. They go right back down the field. They get a touchdown, 18-12 with the extra point to come. And let's see, that was a 10-yard run for Florida State by Williams. So make an 18-12 game, and it's going to be a tight one going into the second half, K-Mac.
At Florida State, playing from behind, they have Oregon right where they want them if they're following their script this season.
All right, more with Bill Pollock on Missouri SEC Football Talk. Back in a moment.